Today I'm going to show you how I decorated these Ladybug Cupcakes. Come join me. So this order was for 51 cupcakes, 25 of one design, 25 of another, and one with this number 1. So I started with spreading some red buttercream across a large pan covered in parchment paper, and then I put this into the freezer so that it would get hard. Then I took a small round cookie cutter, you'll see me doing this in a moment, and I cut out circles that were the size of my cupcakes. I'm going to use these once they're more hard from the freezer. I'm going to use these to pick them right up and put them onto my cupcakes, and essentially that will ice them with the red buttercream. Before I can get to that point, first I want to make sure that this is pretty flat. So I'm using parchment paper and pushing it down onto the spread out icing to smooth it out. I'm also going to use a rolling pin here momentarily to further smooth out the icing that's going to go on top of those cupcakes. And this is really just to smooth it out so that when I pick it up and put it onto my cupcakes, it's nice and smooth already. So here you can see me in the background kind of cutting those circles out in the buttercream icing. Then I put this pan into the freezer so that they get hard, and as I mentioned, I can then just pick up these round circles. And here you see me pulling them up off of that parchment paper. I'm using a little knife, and I am just putting them onto the next pan, which I'm going to make them a bit harder again so that they're easy to transfer onto my cupcakes, and I'm going to transfer them onto each one of the cupcakes. And here I am putting them onto each one of the cupcakes. After I'm finished putting those onto each one of the cupcakes, I'm going to go back and I'm just going to use my spreader to push the icing down along the sides. I want these to be very rounded on the top, and I'm going to, as I mentioned, just push this down over the sides and round off each one of these cupcakes. As you can see in the background, they're very rounded, which will make it good for our Ladybug Cupcakes. Because these are a bit frozen, so they're hard, it does make it easier to spread these and really smooth them out the way that I'm looking for them to be smoothed out. Once they're smoothed out, I'm going to put this little semicircle of black icing onto each one of the cupcakes. These are going to be the heads of our ladybugs. Now I'm using a Viva paper towel, which doesn't have any markings on it, and I'm just tapping that black section to really smooth it out so I can go on to the next step. Here I am adding just the white part of eyes for each one of our ladybugs. And then I'm taking a skewer, I'm wetting the end of it, and I'm putting 2 holes in and drawing a smile for each one of our happy ladybugs. Once I draw the smile, I'm then dipping my skewer end back into the water, and I'm pushing them back into the corners of the mouths just to make sure there's not excess icing in the corners. Here I am also then taking the back end of my skewer, and I'm drawing that center of each one of the backs of our ladybugs. And here's where you see me pushing that back into the corner so that you don't have excess icing in the corners of each side of the mouth. After I'm finished with that, I'm going back and I'm putting the pupil onto each one of the eyeballs. They're really starting to come together at this point. And now I'm going back in and I'm putting 6 little flowers onto the backs of each one of our ladybugs. You can see I'm putting 3 onto each side of the back of the ladybugs. And then with that, they're finished. So I'm going to put them into a box for our customer. And this is what these ones look like. And this is the first 25. Now we're working on the next. So I did the same technique with getting those pieces of red circle icing, and I'm putting them onto the cupcake. So these after I have that all smoothed out, I'm putting a white daisy onto each one of the smoothed out cupcakes. And after I have that finished, I'm going back and I'm putting a red blob onto each one of the daisies. And these are going to be miniature ladybugs that will fashion into the typical look of a ladybug. Again, I am drawing that center line down each one of the ladybugs for their wings. And then I'm going back in and I'm adding 6 little dots onto each one of them and adding their head. And with that, that will basically finish up our ladybugs on these ones, except I am going to, I'm not sure if I showed in the video, but I'm just going to push down on each one of those dots just so that they're flat and not have peaks coming up off of the ladybugs. As you can see in the background, there's peaks coming off of them. And there I am pushing them down. And with that, that's going to complete the look of these ladybugs that are sitting on top of white daisies. Once that's done, I'm putting them into the box for our customer as well. You'll see I also have some business cards back there underneath the box. I'm going to add those to each one of the boxes as well. And with that, this is what these ones look like. And then lastly, I'm adding that one single cupcake. I'm adding flowers around the entire cupcake in black, and then I'm putting a red center on them. Also going to draw the number 1 because this is for a 1-year birthday party. And with that, that completes the cupcake. And here is what each of the 3 look like together. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe so you don't miss any content. Thanks for joining.